Hey guys, what's up? And it is noon, and I'm another game review. This review is going to be on Jak X Combat Racing, which was released after Jak 3. I'm not sure if it was released before the Daxter PSP game or not. I'm not sure if it was released before or after it, but yeah, now this game has a huge love-hate relationship between Jak and Daxter fans, and I'll explain that as I get into the review. So yeah, the story takes place after Jak, through some unknown time after Jak 3. Alright, where the war apparently has ended, I guess. And everything's returning back to normal again. However, Jak, Daxter, Kira, and Samos have been called in to meet up with none other than Crew's daughter, Rain, who, believe it or not, is actually pretty hot in video game women-wise. Yeah, she's not as fat as her. She's not fat at all. But, yeah. And God damn it. And she explains to them why she called them there, because, well, she doesn't even know herself, I don't think. But except for the fact that before her father died, his wishes were to have a meeting of his closest associates and for them to drink to his passing. And also, she played a message to them, which apparently he recorded in preparation for his death, I guess. And what he wants them to do is to compete in the Crass City Racing Competition. For him. Because he loves racing, however, he never fulfilled his living dream of winning the biggest race of all, which was the Crass City Grand Championship. However, he figures that even in death, he'll field the greatest racing team ever assembled and win the biggest race on the planet. He expects that they'll just do it, but initially they refuse. However, he anticipated this, I guess, and so he put poison in the drinks that they took, and even Rain drank it. So, you know, she's supposedly poisoned now too. She's actually not, but you know, we don't know that till at the very end of the game in the final cutscene. Okay, but yeah. So yeah, so basically, this game is a full-on racing game. There's no platforming in it at all. You basically just go through the different Eco Cups. I don't remember what they're in order, but all of them in no particular order are the Yellow Eco Cup, Blue Eco Cup, a Red Eco Cup, and the Green Eco Cup. You have to compete for certain medals in order to get to the final race in each cup. There's bronze, silver, and gold medals, I believe, and the gold medals in the majority of the races are fucking difficult, okay? Seriously, I've never gotten all the gold cups before. I don't know if I ever will either. They're seriously that difficult. Now, I really like this game. It was, you know, I mean, sure, there's no platforming yet, but I don't really see why people deem it bad just because of that, you know? There's a lot of different races in this game, and a lot of different variety in the gameplay of the races. They go from the different racing styles includes regular races, obviously, where you have to get into first place in the time limit. There's Rush Hour, where you're on the track alone, you have to crash into colorful cars in order to get points. The different color equals a different amount of points. You have to get a certain number for each, or a certain amount of points for each medal. Then there's forget what it's called, but I'll just call it Power Cell Clash. I forget what its actual name is, but where you collect a power cell and then you boost and go high enough, and then you launch it, and you have to, and each one that you get gets you 1 point until you pass the, because whenever you in a race that gets you points, each time you pass the finish line, the amount of points that you get will like double, and then they'll double again, and they'll keep going up as you pass the finish line. You know, and another type of a race is where you're on the track by yourself, and there's all sorts of these little drones, and you have to shoot them down for points. And there's just a lot of different races, types of races in this game. There's also arena matches. One of the biggest ones is where you're in the an arena with everyone who would have been on the track with you, and you have to shoot them down. Whenever you or them get shot down, you'll automatically respawn, but whenever you shoot them down, you'll get a point, basically. You'll get a point for shooting them down. And whoever comes out with the most points at the end wins. However, of course, if you're in second or third place, you'll still get a medal, obviously. But, yeah, and there's a lot of others. There's this one arena challenge where you're in the arena with all those other racers, too, but you don't have to shoot them down, but you can to help you win, because what you really have to shoot down is that giant machinery type thing. I forget what it's called, and you know, and your opponents will be trying to shoot them down too, and you have to get enough points up. You have to shoot enough of them down. You know, it's really, there's and there's a lot more too, a lot more. All right. And it keeps the gameplay varied. And there's also lots of different types of vehicles in this game too. And the eco comes back. The blue eco signifies your boosts. The yellow eco is your front weapons. Red eco is your rear weapons. And green eco constitutes your vehicle's health. And then there's dark eco. If you kill enough enemies, then when you kill enemies, dark eco, you'll collect dark eco. When you collect enough, your dark eco meter will max out, and and your attacks will temporarily increase in power, and I think your boosting speed will actually increase as well, temporarily, until you blow up. All right, then it'll go back down to normal again. Alright, it's actually really creative, I personally think. Now for the story, though, like I already explained part of the story, but the main enemy in this game is a crime lord named Mizo, who apparently signed a deal years ago with the crime lord crew from Jak 2. That whoever wins the racing championship gets the other's dirty business. Basically controls the other's family, essentially. So, yeah, and Mizo is actually disguised as the Crest City, as the person who's announcing for the races, a guy named GT Blitz. He's actually disguised as me, and you don't know that until the final race. And that's one of my major complaints with this game. It only has one actual boss fight, which is a race that's pretty easy. You just have to chase Mizo down in his vehicle with your vehicle and shoot him until his health goes down. It's really easy. I didn't die a single time on my first try, or any other try for that matter. Other enemies include Mizo's right-hand man, apparently, a Razor. It would have been kind of nice to get a boss fight similar to that with him. And another enemy includes the robot, I guess KG robot, UR86. So yeah, and another enemy actually, which is another returning character, is Cleaver, because for some reason Cleaver's on the enemy side here. I really don't get it. Sig also makes a return, and so does Ashlyn, and Torn, which Ashley and Torn were actually at the meeting, so they got poisoned too. And like I mentioned before, the real enemy of this, the real villain of this game is actually Rain, because it was revealed during the final cutscene of the game that she actually conspired with her father before his death to do this, so that his associates would have won the Crash City races. It's not really revealed too clearly as to what her motives actually are, and at the end of the final cutscene, she drives away, and that's it. That's the end of the game, and there's no sequel to this game. I don't think there's one planned either, which kind of sucks, because it really sucks to end a game on a cliffhanger and not have a fucking sequel. Honestly, Naughty Dog, please make a sequel just so that the story can complete itself. I mean, obviously make the gameplay good too, but honestly, what is the fucking point in that? And don't try to tell me, oh, it's been so long, so since this game came out, so there's no point now. Look, if there's able to be a new Sly Cooper game after 7 fucking years, then I think there can be a Jak X Combat Racing Part 2, alright? My point rests. There needs to be a sequel to this fucking game. So, that's probably my biggest complaint with this game is the ending. Another complaint with my game is the odd difficulty. The majority of the races, especially later on in the game, are really difficult. But the race against Mizo is so easy. It's the final race. You'd think it would be really difficult too. What is up with that? That was pathetic. Utterly pathetic. Alright, that's another huge complaint I have with this game. The weird difficulty. Alright, I mean, this game's really fun, don't get me wrong. I love it. I really do. Yeah. And another complaint I have with this game, I guess you just count as a nitpick. You might just count it as a nitpick, but I count it as a genuine complaint, is that in the story, there's really no reference to the war at all. Or there is, but there's very little reference to the war. Let me just put it that way, right? There's very little reference to the actual war. I like the locations that you go to, though. There's races in the Wasteland, there's races in Spargus City, there's races in Haven City, there's races in the Monk Temple, there's races in Crash City, the new city, there's races in an icy place, I forget what it's called. You know, there's races in the Great Volcano, I believe. Yeah, so there's lots of locations where the races take place. Alright, another problem I have with this game is the lack of platforming. Now, I know I probably sound like a hypocrite because I kind of insinuated before that I don't care about that. Well, I mean, I love racing games, especially when they're like this, combat while you're racing, combat racing, alright? But it would have been kind of nice to have at least a little bit of platforming. Maybe some platforming with vehicles, or maybe there's platforming segments where you have to sabotage the opponent's vehicles, or both. You know, that would have been kind of cool. You know, and it would also it would have been kind of cool if there was if there was like an on-foot free roaming thing, you know, segment. That would have been kick-ass. And if Naughty Dog actually does decide to make a sequel to this game, they should definitely put that into consideration. They probably won't, but if they do, they should definitely put that into consideration, and they should definitely make a sequel. Because of the shit ending. Oh my god. But yeah, but all my complaints aside, I did really like this game. You know, and if it wasn't for the shit ending and the weird difficulty, I could have probably given this game an 8. I'm not even kidding, but those two things brought it down quite a bit. So I'll give Jak X Combat Racing a 6.5 out of 10. Alright. because it is a really fun game. Don't get me wrong, and I'm not saying it's a bad game at all because it's not. I really don't see it that way. There was just a lot of things that could have been improved with this game. That's all. Alright, so I guess that's it for this game review of mine. Rate, subscribe, do all the good stuff, and see you guys after. Guys, thanks for watching. Bye bye. Stay tuned for more videos from me.